Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar, Your Growth Plan, Unlocking Potential Through Training, our third webinar in the new Professional Services series. My name is Tim Buckley, the South Australia Membership Manager for Austmine, and I'll be your host today. Before we begin, on behalf of Austmine and our representing companies, I would like to acknowledge that I am hosting this webinar from the lands of the Kaurna people. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we all meet today and recognise the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people attending this webinar. The webinar series is designed to connect our members and stakeholders with leading professionals who can provide valuable insights across various business disciplines. Today, we continue the series with Your Growth Plan, Unlocking Potential Through Training, where Austmine members with expertise in impactful training programs will share strategies to boost productivity with leadership development and cross-skilling insights. The format of today's webinar consists of a short presentation by each of our member presenters, followed by a Q&A session. If you have questions for any of the presenters throughout the webinar, please type them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. If your question is directed to a specific presenter, please note their name in your question. This webinar is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing. So joining us today are representatives of two leading member companies who will share their strategies to streamline upskilling your team and introduce the core principles of effective leadership development in mining. Today's presenters are Stephen Love, Managing Director, Outsource Institute, and Peter James, Director, Career Life Transitions. So that concludes the welcome and introduction. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our first presenter, Stephen Love, Managing Director, Outsource Institute. Over to you, Stephen. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you to everyone joining us today. Just grab the slides. There we go. So today we're talking about the training for employability and profitability, and how that what Outsource can do for you to help grow your business any further. And assist with any upskilling that occurs. Watch a video. So Outsource Institute, we've been around for many years now, first established in 1998, and we specialise in the welding and hydraulics components of the engineering programs. We have branched out into other areas such as automotive, and that's really to support the mining sector. And some of the images there show some of the sort of training that we can provide on site. And ultimately, that we do believe that education does change lives, and we're involved in a number of programs that support that message. Why do you choose Outsource? We've spent a long time in the industry, so we have many different programs that support the industry, and as I mentioned, we specialise in those engineering courses that suit the businesses, and we work with the companies in developing those programs to provide that flexible course or need that's required, whether it be a full program or a short course. As I mentioned, we do work with businesses, so and training does come at a cost. So we have many different funding opportunities that through state government funding and various payment plans to assist with the payment of those courses. We've also won a number of awards over the years, and just recently I've just got a couple up there where we've through Weld Australia, we've won some training awards, and we're a runner-up this year for the training organisation. So with the advanced trade training that we do provide, in the welding section, we've got there the tickets that you may be familiar with some of the more specialised programs towards the Australian standards. The welding tickets 1 to 9, again, you may be familiar with those that we do provide, both the theory and the practical, all the way through to that ticket 10. Coming soon, we'll have the inspection, so the ticket 11, that'll be something that'll be launched in 2025. Our on-site training, as you can see from the list there, the main programs that we do offer are around that engineering, welding and hydraulics, so the fluid power. But there are other programs that support the training that we provide in the automotive. Again, helping companies transition from one section to another. So that's a unique factor of what we can do to ensure that people are skilled in the area that they need to be, especially in the mining sector, where we can provide that additional assistance to help some of the companies that are bidding for contracts and are able to have their workforce skilled to the level that's required. The other programs that we do offer, again, advanced hydraulics, pneumatics, and air conditioning. So they're some of the ones that we'll do off-site. So coming to one of our locations, that we've got that specialised program that we provide there. We're also ISO 9001 compliant, and again, that just gives that reassurance to companies that we have been through that program and through that assessment and audit that we've got to do every year to ensure that we do have a compliant program, and just sort of sets us above the rest when it comes to the standard that we offer. Although we're an RTO, we are compliant with ASCA's regulations as far as being an RTO, but we've gone that one step further to provide that reassurance, and something that you guys might be familiar or will be familiar with when it comes to international standards. So one of the things that we are working towards for Australia's future, and especially with building the nation, is, as you can see there, is some of the programs that we run for companies, and looking at they're always wanting to upskill their staff, provide that pathway, that longevity within a company that everyone's striving for, because the transitional workforce that we have these days can be disruptive. So we look to these types of programs and send these types of messages to ensure that companies are aware that they can hold on to staff longer by investing in the training that's provided, and they have that government support that helps with the cost of training, and also the recognition that's required. So not only do you get qualifications from Outsource Institute, but also through various programs that are recognised through the government as well. Again, the advantages to upskilling workforce, as you can see from the list there, is just really being able to provide those pathways for staff to ensure that they're remaining within the businesses, they're getting the latest skills. You see increased productivity. There are cost savings in that, so reduced recruitment that's needed. Providing the leadership opportunities for those staff that are moving through their apprenticeship to the more advanced skills, and then eventually becoming those mentors and workshop supervisors and site leaders that everyone's looking for. Examples of some of the occupation outcomes we've done there. So these, the list on the left there, the boilermaker, fitter and mechanic, and the fitter are the occupational outcomes that are currently available through the Certificate 3 programs. And by moving through the different programs into the Certificate 4, they could become first class welder, or the welding supervisor or a plant mechanic and so on. And you can see there that we utilise this the engineering Cert 4 program to achieve that. So these qualifications are actually done through an apprenticeship program, which you may be familiar with. An adult apprenticeship is another term that's used, and those programs can be utilised again to ensure that there's a transition from the original qualification into another area, so making that staff member more deployable and giving them more skills, and also allowing them to grow within themselves to assist the company in its growth itself. The one at the bottom there is the dual trade, so having that employability across several sectors. So again, through the Cert 3 engineering, whether it be a fitter or a mechanic, they can become an auto electrician and go on to do the auto electrician part. Boilermakers have been made into draftsmen, so those are the ones that are coming off the tools. They're able to transition from the workshop to the design side, utilising the Cert 4 engineering. So, and then again, the fitter to the welder, another one where someone's coming from a particular Cert 3 trade and changing their career direction into a welder. The partnerships we have at the moment, there are many others that we're connected with, but these are the main ones we have. So Custom Fluid Power, Weld Australia, Solidus, Diversico through automation, RPR Trades assists with workforce development, so looking for staff there. Workforce Success is another one. We've got many different clients that we've worked with in the past. So as you can see, just a couple here with the larger companies that you may be familiar with. Adriatic Metals is one of interest. We're currently working in Bosnia at the moment, working with the mine site and the processing plant to upskill their maintenance staff. So we're flying over to that country to currently do training on site to ensure that their staff are brought up to the Australian standard, although they do have skills, but we're trying to bring them up to the Australian standard again, so they can be more employable and more deployable across the regions. Our strategic relationships, again, working with various different organisations. So we're getting the latest information from the mining, manufacturing and defence sectors, also within leadership, and again, making sure that we're staying in touch with what's needed and what is required within the industry. We also have pathways. So our pathway programs relating to our our diploma and advanced diploma of engineering. So through the University of Queensland there, Griffith, Southern Cross and the University of Southern Queensland. These programs are available through both onshore and offshore. So we do have an international arm of the business as well that for helping overseas students complete their engineering qualifications, and then they go on to university as well. The training we've delivered so far, so some of these companies you'll be familiar with, and that's just taking the Certificate 3 program into a Certificate 4 across these various industries. Of BHP, Hatch and Anglo American, I'm sure you're aware of those. Again, those their cadet programs through to their staff becoming more skilled and wanting to go to that next level. These are all pathways into university, especially at the advanced diploma level. So staff that want to complete their engineering degrees can use these pathways to complete the advanced diploma program, and that'll take about almost 12 months off the first year of the degree. Again, that's the transition from being a tradesman into a more leadership role, I guess, in the industry or in the organisation. The program that I'd just like to highlight there, so using with Leverher, with their mechanics, the particular mine site they were working on required them to have a special skill set. So that's where we use the Certificate 4 program to fast track that those competencies to get them the skill set that they required so get access to the mine site, and then they were able to complete that program under a contract, but they were able to complete that program over the next, I think it's 12 to 18 months, and that then they walked away with that certificate in engineering. And BHP, again, they were in a remote area. They were working on a remote site, so we were able to go up to that area and provide the training on site that gave them the skills that they needed at the time, and was able to bring their workforce up to the level that they needed. When it comes to funding, again, this is just an example of what can happen through the apprenticeship model. So the traditional Certificate 3 or Certificate 4 program can be done this way, and just some of the costs that are subsidised by the federal government. There's also a lot of other initiatives that are available through signing into a training contract, and these can be explained if you want some more information later. So my message here is in the upskilling component is to utilising the training to diversify the skills that are required for the business, but also allowing the staff to invest in their own skills so they can diversify their own abilities, be more deployable. And again, with us coming out on site, it does reduce the cost in sending people away for long periods of time, and it does reduce that, or it stops that productivity dropping. For more information, I've just left Kevin's details up here, and he'll be the one to contact should you have any other questions. I'm also available if you need to know more, but Kevin would be our point of contact in the future. Thank you very much, and I think it's over to Peter or Tim.
Thanks, Stephen. No, a great presentation, and you demonstrated the diverse range of qualifications you offer, which is really good. And I just picked up, out of that you know, the education in changing lives, the funding opportunities that you have and payment options, and also importantly, the on-site training seems really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next I would like to welcome Peter James, Director, Career Life Transitions, to present. So over to you, Peter. Thank you.
Thanks very much, and good morning to everyone in the West, and good afternoon to everyone in the East. Am I going to get to control those slides at all? Okay, great. Thanks very much. Career Life Transitions, we've been around for around 12 years, supporting blue chip companies, specifically in the area of leadership development, the leadership coaching and the leadership development programs, talent management, and organisational culture transformation. So we're a well-established company in West Australia. I guess when we look at the importance of soft skills training in the mining industry, I mean, it's a high-risk environment. Productivity hinges a lot these days on collaboration, communications, leadership. There are major safety and psychological health focuses, and certainly we get to that stage where your soft skill training is no longer a nice to have, it's starting to become mandatory. So if you have a look at the big three for any organisation, even outside of the mining industry, we're looking at increasing production or output, we're looking at reducing our costs, and reducing whatever stock holding we have. I guess they're the big three objectives. So then looking at soft skills training, what we're trying to do, and as I say, what good a leadership development will do, will significantly increase your productivity, significantly increase retention, reduce your chance of accidents and safety issues, and certainly there's a significant reduction in psychosocial hazards, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. So you're looking to increase the capacity of your company organisation, at the same time decreasing the risks. So what are soft skills? I mean, before you start on any type of leadership development or leadership training, you're really sort of asking yourself, what are the issues that I may be facing in my organization that relate to that? And it's quite an extensive list. You may be trying to overcome issues like the inability to attract quality people, or poor decision making on site when you have a head office and multiple sites that you're operating off. There might be a lack of organizational alignment or low employee engagement, lack of innovation, creativity, no succession pipeline, lack of ethical inclusional practices, either stressed staff stress or burnout, etc., etc. So some of these things you may look at your organization and say, well, some of them are actually nice to have, but we get to that point where some of the things are now mandatory to have. So when you're looking through your technical skills, they're usually easier to see. And certainly coming from a trade background, I can kind of quickly ascertain whether someone knows what they're doing with a variety of skills and what have you and tools. But when it comes to soft skills training, it's not so obvious, and it can make a big difference to your organization. Now, we really separate management from leadership, and I know there are a lot of very good managers out there, but managers are all related to your KPIs and your procedures and your policies, all that type of stuff, which can be actually observed physically and managed, whereas leadership is taking that stretch to engaging people, communicating, developing emotional intelligence, all the things that really personal attributes that enable you to interact effectively and harmoniously with other people. And so there's a range of things there. Now, we all do have different personalities. The two big different types of people we're working with, people have a task orientation over a people orientation, or vice versa. In other words, a task needs to be done at the expense of upsetting people, or we need to keep people happy at the expense of delivering the task. So we do have natural tendencies to engage with people, and some people are naturally step up as being engaging and demonstrating those low leadership skills. But when you're operating in a business, especially if you have a high technical person, you really want to be able to extend those skills through development to ensure that they transition those that task-oriented technical skill into soft skills, which then engage the group, problem solving, conflict resolution, teamwork, communications, all those things that really make a massive difference. So regardless of your personality type, these days, as a leader, if you choose to move into a leadership role, and it's moving more from, we're looking for more than managers anymore, now we're looking for leaders. When you choose to move into that leadership role, you do need to be looking at yourself, looking at what makes you happy, what makes you angry, what your values are, and how you're contributing that in the workplace to engage the people you're trying to positively influence to deliver the best result for your organization. So, I mean, soft skills aligns with good cultural alignment, which then for your customers and stakeholders aligns with good brand recognition alignment, and that's better business for you. I mean, there are massive impacts on soft skills on productivity, and some of the figures that are starting to come out. Teams that communicate effectively are 50% more likely to be productive, or 50% more productive as a result of that. Clear communication reduces delays, enhances workflows, and all the case studies so that it improves team outcomes. So we're all unique. We all see the world in different ways, but adopting one style of engagement management has a potential to disengage people. And one of the case studies we had on site was operating with an organization that it was subcontracting to a larger mining organization, and there was a communication breakdown which led to a few non-compliances and what have you, where the large organization basically turned around to this subcontract and said, you tidy up your leadership skills, or you will be relooking at the contract. So we went in there and developed the team in leadership skills. We looked at the organizational alignment and that employee engagement, and run some not extensive programs through that organization, which really started to align their communication skills and how they communicated with workforce, what they wanted to achieve, that people in different sites were now acting the same way. So when I deal with this organization, I'm dealing with the same type of culture. And that taking that time to spend with the with the workforce and what have you really started to develop better understanding of people, their needs, their requirements, their communication styles, which really engage the workforce more. So there are cost reductions through training, 50% lower turnover with good leadership, 30% fewer accidents in teams with strong communication protocols, and prevention of costly mistakes through better decision making. And as I say, it doesn't take you long to jump on the internet to see where this research is coming from and how solid that is, the results. And I guess one of the issues with it is, as I said before, it's very, very easy to look at the technical skills and the list of requirements and what have you for it. But when we start to move to leadership skills, it does become a little bit more esoteric. So going back and actually looking at your business and saying, okay, what is the skills deficit in leadership? What do we need to focus on? What are the areas we need to support our staff and leaders to make that difference that lifts our organization? And I guess it's becoming more of an imperative now, because psychosocial hazards are now becoming law. WorkSafe Australia, this is one of the statements out of their manual. It says genuine commitment by person conducting a business or undertaking, officers and organisational leaders is essential. So in other words, we're looking at reducing those safety lifts through active engagement, building a culture of trust where employees feel free to open and communicate freely, and equipping leaders with training to handle interpersonal engagements, because it is, as I say, started to become mandatory. And you have to ask yourself, well, okay, we're moving safety to that next stage, whereas before it started off, okay, we just need to look at the safety hazards, the physical safety hazards, and now we're having to look at much more psychosocial hazards in the workplace. And you ask yourself, why? Well, needless to say, it comes down to costs. So these are some figures. Even these figures are a little bit old now, but just taking the titles out of it. Mental health claims are averaging 17 weeks of lost time. Okay. So, and as I say, that's quite a lot more than people with a serious physical injury. That people who have mental health claim injuries around a primary physical injury can have up to 8 times more time off work as a result of that. And they're starting to provide feedback, a return on investment of $4.70 for every dollar you spend on looking at improving the psychological conditions of the environment. And a primary feeder to that is your the leadership ability of your management leadership team and the organisation. So it is being driven, certainly driven by the insurance companies, certainly driven by the Australian government, that these managing psychosocial hazards are key. And some of those that come up are excessive workloads, lack of control of people's autonomy, workplace bullying and harassment, job insecurity, and poor work-life balance. Now, when I look through that list and I look at a list of the best leadership skills that people in healthy organizations demonstrating, a lot of these have massive amount of crossover. So in other words, they're not mutually exclusive. It's not something that you need to do or have to do just to manage psychosocial hazards. All the evidence shows that having this set of skills that as a byproduct manages psychosocial hazards actually significantly increases the productivity and output of your organization. So even just the other day, I was looking, something came up on HR magazine. Once again, just why we're going down this path. So the Australian economy is losing up to $936 million each day due to poor mental health. So it is a significant issue that we're all grappling with. And it is something that organizations now are being made responsible and held accountable for their ability to manage and engage with the workforce. And a lot of that is around emotional intelligence and leadership development skills. So how do we go about doing that kind of thing? Well, it's quite simple. Really assessing the needs and challenges. Our culture is built on the behaviours of our leaders. So having a look at what culture your organisation is built. You can't not have a culture. You have a culture. It's either the one you choose that aligns with the expectations of the mining industry, or they're one that's been given to you because you haven't developed it yourself. Tailoring the training for the mining environment, which could include coaching, mentoring, classroom, on the job, online. There's various ways that training can be tailored to meet the I guess the demographic issues and the demands of the business. There's lots of interacting methods we can use to make that training directly applicable to the workplace. And I think, as Simon Sinek says, it's not a matter of coming in and just sheep dip one-off. We do a leadership training and you've done that. It really requires a change in multiple levels of leadership in there, that we're paying attention to good leadership skills. And I often say to a group of people, just pick one or two things you're going to do differently as you move forward in your interactions. And that'll be a gap that might be unique to you because of your personality or the area you're operating in. So good leadership, good strategies are not a hard sell. So the call to action, small start, introducing soft skill workshops, starting to have that as a discussion in leadership teams, in the top echelons of the business. I'm working with organizational moment. We're just coaching that leadership team to be clear and include the culture, the values, and the behaviors they're expecting from the organization as part of senior leadership teams. It's not just about productivity or profits or finance or anything like that. It's also including your cultural, behavioral values discussion to ensure that flows through the organization. And as I say, one last case study that we had here, working with one of the organisations in the Pilbara, going in and running not a huge program, leadership supervisor development program, with a group of people who have been promoted into those roles, probably through necessity, through their good technical skills, and who had no supervisor or leadership training, putting them through even a short leadership training program, which in this case was half a day workshop and 1.5 hours one-on-one face-to-face training with the supervisors. And the result from that was the highest number of productive hours combined with the lowest safety incidents the branch has ever achieved. And that was immediately following that training. So all the evidence shows that it is highly effective. So thank you for your time. As I say, certainly my contact details are there. Please reach out to me either online or by phone. Peter James is my name. We do work with a number of different organisations to really try and build a safer, productive mining workforce. So thank you, Tim.
Yes, great. Thank you, Peter. A great presentation on just how soft skill and training through career life transitions can help organisations, as you put it, increase productivity, increase retention rates, so less employee churn, and very importantly these days, reduce the psychological hazards employees face. So thank you both for your presentations. It's now time for audience Q&As. If you haven't already submitted a question, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. And I do have some questions that I'd like to put to Peter and Stephen. So I'll start off with the first one for you, Stephen, which is about moving apprentices. So can someone move their apprentice to your RTO, and is it difficult to do?
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, the process is fairly simple. There's just a couple of forms that need to be completed. An apprentice can move from RTO to RTO at any time. It's really the business owner, the employer that makes that decision. And again, it's a fairly simple process. It's just a couple of forms. The time frame it takes is around 10 days or so before it's fully transitioned across. So, quite an easy thing to do.
Good, thank you. So one here for Peter, and someone running a lean operation, and they don't have a lot of time to pull people out of training. What's the best way to approach leadership development, taking that into account?
I think, as I say, it's always an interesting challenge with a wide demographics, mine sites all over the place and what have you. But it's certainly there's a capacity to even develop some of the very, very basic skills of understanding yourself, understanding the others, and as I said for the last example, just having even a short interaction. I mean, it's amazing how many people don't really understand that people may not see the world the way they see it, and some really basic understanding of yourself, understanding some format for those kind of discussions, and making one or two changes to that, as I say, can be quite simple. And for some people, I've seen people come through a major revelation. Just one point, it's like, wow, okay, I'm now going to change the way I'm going to interact with somebody. So if it doesn't need to be massive, and it's certainly, I'm not a fan of the sheep dip. It really needs to be a way the organization starts to think about those interactions, and that can be done with a lot of internal discussion and the way the business interacts in itself, with a little bit of support from an outside trainer or consultant.
Okay, so from that, I'm taking it you get this sort of personal evaluation of those people that you need to upskill.
Absolutely right. Yes, we use a number of different, from Hogan to DIS to Print to LSI, all those type of psychometric tests, which are a conversation starter. Basically, it gives you a baseline, but then it's understanding how other people are interacting with you, and then understanding yourself to optimize how you're interacting with other people.
Right, great, thank you. So, Stephen, what's the minimum amount of time a staff you need to train a staff?
So we can have people starting from the transition from I guess what I call a first year apprentice. That's they can come across that way. We can train as little as one person up to 50. It's obviously 50 is a little bit more challenging. There's a little bit more coordination in that when we're coming on site. But yeah, from the first year, second or third year, or all the way from the beginning, it can be as little as one on-site contact right through to up to about 50 or so. We've done large projects like that before, where again there would be a lot of coordination, consulting with the various businesses to see how that would work, looking at shifts, rosters, all those sorts of things. So whatever it takes really to ensure that we're getting the training outcome that the company is after.
Okay, so you can be flexible in the delivery.
Yep, very much so. Yep.
Right. So how many training sessions do they have to attend?
Again, through that RPL process that we provide at the beginning of the assessment, that'll determine the amount of gap training that's required. So these sessions can be from 3 to 4 to 5. They're flexible in the way that we work with businesses on their more busier times. So as their operations ramp up, we can walk back a bit, and as they start to wind down in the quieter times, we can come back in again. So training sessions can be as little as 2 hours for all day, over a couple of days, and sometimes over a couple of weeks. It just depends again on the amount of training. So if we were to say a staff of between 10 and 20, we could be working with them for over a week, over 2 weeks. Again, working with their roster system to make sure that we're not impacting the business too much. The shift rotation is another one as well, where we might take people out 4 at a time, 5 at a time. So again, it's not impacting on the operations of the company.
Right. So again, that flexible element
Yep.
comes into play.
Yep.
Okay, I've got some other questions here. I don't have a name for this. So do you offer any training for professional team members? such as project management or team leadership. So I'm imagining that might be for you, Peter.
Certainly for team leadership, building teams very quickly. We've worked with a number of organisations that they're running shutdowns and things like that. So they may have 200 people roll up on site for a 3-month period. Trying to get that group to work together as a team as quickly as possible. It's not enormously difficult to do, but it does take steps, and it does take focus, and it does take a methodology. So certainly we have done some work with that. We don't do a lot of work specifically in the management aspects of it. We kind of think, well, you've got a lot of that in your organization already. We could probably advise on that, but we are focusing on soft skills, leadership development, culture, values. Yeah.
Nice. So I think this one might be for you, Stephen. And what is the on-site supervision requirements for trainees?
So trainees and apprenticeships in our industry are two separate things. So under a traineeship, the rules are a little bit more flexible in especially around the engineering component. So anyone with experience within that industry and has, for example, an engineering degree might be suitable for a trainee, as opposed to an apprenticeship where the supervisor or the site supervisor will need to hold a qualification either equivalent or above that particular apprentice. So again, case by case, but that's in a general rule, that's how it would normally work.
Okay. Just a couple more questions then to finish off with. So Peter, someone here has a volatile market, so they have turnover in a volatile market. Why would I invest in a supervisor?
I think it's getting to the point where you really don't have a lot of choice with it. I mean, with WorkSafe, the regulations come out, so there's that aspect of it where any kind of, as I say, a disconnect in that it could be an issue for you reasonably quickly. But the other side of it is that we're trying to lift, as we have done with a whole range of skills and capacity technology in the mining industry. It's continually revisiting and lifting it. And I think good leadership skill, good engagement, managing psychosocial hazards is going to lift the whole industry up. So, I mean, you're seeing it already. You've seen it with some of the big miners where they haven't paid attention to those things. Now they're suddenly getting their name dragged across the front page of the newspaper. So they've got very, very quickly on board, which means that if you're a subcontractor or a light that industry, there's going to be an expectation that you're going to lift your game in that area as well. So there's a couple of things. Number one, it is very, very good for business. Good leadership development is good for your business. End of story. All the research shows that. Secondly, is that the larger mining companies are already on board, and you're going to need to get on board as well if you're going to continue to win those contracts. And third, the government is making it law. So really looking at this in a positive sense, it shouldn't be seen as a negative. It's a positive. It's lifting the skills within the industry, those soft skills.
Yep, very well put. So I think this will be the last question. This one's for Stephen. And someone who's on a course, can they finish the course earlier?
Yes. Simple answer. It is competency-based training, so each of the learners could be at different levels. The courses can run generally like a normal 4-year apprenticeship, which we all know. However, they can be fast-tracked earlier. Credit transfers and from other courses, the recognition of prior learning that we offer can also shorten the time frame. So a normal course or regular course could go from anywhere from 12 months to 18 months. Again, it depends on how many subjects they've got to do and complete, and whether the workplace is satisfied with their knowledge with the on-the-job. So we work with all the companies in having that done. So if we may have completed our assessment and the company may believe that they need more time on the job, then that's what will happen. We won't be signing them off completely until everyone's satisfied that they've got the skill required.
Makes sense. Okay, then, so we'll finish the questions and answers there, but if anyone has a question you'd like us to put to either of the presenters, please reach out to one of your Austmine team members and we will follow up for you. So our previous webinars along with today's session will be available to watch on demand on Austmine's YouTube channel. And we're also excited to announce 3 new webinars next year as part of our professional webinar, the services webinar series. So stay tuned, more information about that in the new year. I would like to give a big thank you to Stephen and Peter for sharing their expertise today. Thank you very much to you both. That was great. Thank you to everyone who's attended, and we look forward to welcoming you to another Austmine webinar in the near future. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See you, everyone.